The silence is the first red flag. You decide to cut out a toxic habit, focus on a vision, or simply stop complaining about the hand you were dealt. You expect your circle to cheer you on. Instead, there is a heavy, awkward silence. Then come the subtle jokes, the passive-aggressive comments masked as genuine concern. You are working too hard. You have changed. You take life too seriously now. They do not mean it as a compliment. What they are actually communicating, beneath the polite smiles, is something deeply psychological and entirely selfish. Your sudden discipline is exposing my lifelong laziness, and I need you to stay broken, predictable, and stagnant so I do not have to face my own wasted potential. If this is happening to you right now, you need to understand a brutal truth. You are not losing your mind, and you are not doing anything wrong. You are simply outgrowing your environment, and this is the most dangerous, terrifying, and necessary phase of your entire existence. Before we tear apart the psychology behind this, if you are tired of apologizing for your own evolution, hit the subscribe button, ring the bell, and leave a like. Share this video with someone who feels entirely alone right now, and drop a comment below if you have lost friends simply because you decided to level up. We are building a sanctuary here for those who refuse to conform. Now, let us look at the architecture of the isolation you are feeling. We are biologically wired to fear exile. For our ancient ancestors, being kicked out of the tribe meant certain death by starvation or predators. Your brain still operates on this primitive software. When you start thinking for yourself, adopting new values, and shedding the comfortable illusions of the herd, your nervous system sets off alarms. It feels like you are dying, but you are not dying. The weak, people-pleasing version of you is being executed. Society has a vested interest in keeping you weak. A weak mind is easy to market to. A weak mind is easily offended, easily distracted, and constantly seeking validation from strangers on the internet. When you actively choose to build a mental fortress, when you stop reacting emotionally to every provocation and start moving with cold, calculated purpose, you become a glitch in the matrix. You become a threat. People do not fear the loud, aggressive, arrogant individuals. They mock them. What truly terrifies the collective mediocrity is the quiet individual who simply no longer cares about their opinions. The person who can sit in a room full of gossip and remain entirely silent, completely unaffected by the social pressure to conform. That level of self-possession is intimidating because it cannot be manipulated. You are stepping into a void. You have killed off the version of you that fit perfectly into their puzzle, and now you have no shape. You belong nowhere. This is the exact moment where 99% of people break. The loneliness becomes too loud. The urge to be invited back to the table, to be liked, to be validated, overpowers their will to grow. So they shrink themselves. They apologize for being ambitious. They return to the herd, putting their masks back on, pretending they don't know that they are living a lie. But you cannot unsee the truth once you have seen it. You cannot go back to sleep once you realize the bed is on fire. You are standing in the wreckage of your old identity. The friends who stop calling, the family members who look at you with disguised disappointment. They are not mourning you. They are mourning the control they used to have over you. Friedrich Nietzsche did not look at this isolation as a tragedy. He saw it as the ultimate filter. He called the invisible system that keeps people trapped slave morality. It is a psychological mechanism built by those who are too terrified to chase their own potential. Because they cannot endure the pain of ascending, they decided to invert the values. They labeled ambition as greed. They labeled boundaries as arrogance. They labeled self-mastery as selfishness. They built a culture that glorifies the victim and punishes the creator. A culture that hands out medals for merely existing, while actively trying to destroy anyone who dares to demand more from life. And you fell for it. For years you played their game. You traded your authenticity for an invitation to a table where no one even respects themselves. But Nietzsche demands a brutal awakening. When he famously declared, "God is dead," the masses completely misunderstood him. He was not making a theological statement about religion. He was delivering a terrifying psychological diagnosis. He meant the ultimate safety net is gone. The illusion that some external force, whether it is a deity, the government, your boss, or the universe, is going to swoop down, hand you a purpose, and save you from your own miserable choices is dead. There is no script. There is no predetermined destiny. There is no inherent meaning to your suffering, unless you forge that meaning yourself. Most people are entirely crushed by this realization. Without a manual, without someone to blame for their failures, they experience total existential collapse. They run back to the herd. They numb themselves with cheap dopamine, endless scrolling, junk food, toxic relationships, anything to drown out the deafening silence of their own responsibility. But for the rare few, for the ones who refuse to be domesticated, this terrifying freedom is the exact material required to build an unshakable mind. When you fully internalize that no one is coming to save you, something shifts permanently in your neurochemistry. The victim mentality evaporates. You stop asking why the world is unfair and start asking how you can dominate the unfairness. This is the birth of radical autonomy. It is the moment you stop reacting to the world and begin forcing the world to react to you. But nature demands a toll for this level of power. You must be willing to endure the abyss. You must be willing to sit alone in a room, stripped of every distraction, and face the darkest, ugliest, most pathetic parts of your own psyche. Carl Jung called this the shadow. Nietzsche called it the chaos within. You cannot give birth to a dancing star if you are too afraid to look at the chaos inside your own chest. Carl Jung called it the shadow. It is the psychological graveyard of your repressed traits. Every time you swallowed your anger to keep the peace, you fed the shadow. Every time you nodded along to an opinion you despised just to keep your seat at the table, you carved out a piece of your authenticity and locked it in the basement of your psyche. Society trained you to fear this darkness. They want to medicate it. They distract you from it with cheap entertainment and superficial drama. But Nietzsche understood something that modern self-help culture entirely sanitizes. True mental power does not come from healing in the traditional sense. It comes from integration. You cannot forge an unbreakable mind using only the polite, agreeable, sanitized parts of yourself. You need your aggression. You need your capacity for ruthlessness. You need your dark side. When you stop running from your shadow and physically drag it into the light, a terrifying transformation occurs. You stop being a nice person and become a real person. A real person does not flinch when confronted. A real person looks people dead in the eye and says no without a millimeter of guilt. This is exactly what makes others uncomfortable around you. They are no longer dealing with a fractured, people-pleasing fragment. They are dealing with a whole human being, and a whole human being cannot be manipulated. This brutal integration is the absolute prerequisite for what Nietzsche called the Übermensch, the Overman. Forget the pop culture translations. The Übermensch is not a comic book conqueror. It is the ultimate psychological predator to the herd mentality. It is the individual who has completely shattered the chains of slave morality. Slave morality is the default operating system of the modern world. It is the collective agreement that glorifies weakness. It labels ambition as greed. It labels self-respect as arrogance. It labels brutal honesty as toxic. It is a social contract designed by the weak to keep the strong chained to the floor, ensuring nobody feels inadequate. To become the Übermensch, you must commit the ultimate psychological murder. You must kill your desperate need for external validation. You must stop outsourcing your self-worth to people who do not even like themselves. The Overman does not ask, "Is this acceptable to the group?" The Overman asks, "Is this aligned with my own internal law?" You become the supreme judge, jury, and executioner of your own existence. This is radical, terrifying responsibility. If you fail, it is entirely on you. If you succeed, it is entirely on you. There is no complaining. There is no playing the victim. You dictate reality. But becoming this autonomous force requires a sacrifice that makes most people's blood run cold. You have to mourn the death of your old identity, and you have to accept that no one will attend the funeral. You must walk into a psychological desert, and it is in this exact desert, this profound and absolute solitude, that the most dangerous phase of your evolution begins. You are no longer adapting to the world. You are preparing to make the world adapt to you. The world does not hunt down those who fit in. It hunts those who dare to stand out. Nietzsche did not lose sleep over tyrants or dictators. The force he despised with absolute fury was much quieter and infinitely more dangerous. He called it collective mediocrity. It is the invisible, suffocating system that demands everyone stay perfectly leveled. It punishes independent thought. It rewards blind obedience and dresses up sheer cowardice as a moral virtue. True tyranny does not drop from the sky. It creeps in from the sides. It comes from the crowd holding you down so they do not have to confront their own refusal to climb. When your mind sharpens, when your boundaries become rigid, when your presence becomes undeniable, you will disturb people, not because you have done something malicious, simply because you are rare, you broke the mold, and a society built on conformity absolutely despises anyone who shatters the illusion. Collective mediocrity cannot tolerate individual brilliance. Your light exposes the absolute darkness of their unlived lives. Nietzsche famously diagnosed this as slave morality. The weak, entirely incapable of achieving greatness themselves, decided to change the rules of the game. They inverted the values. They labeled strength as arrogance. They branded ambition as greed. They called fierce independence coldness. They built an entire moral framework designed exclusively to protect the fragile and condemn the strong. Do not mistake this for compassion. It is pure resentment. The weak have zero desire to be elevated. They just want the strong to be dragged back down into the mud. This is why the attacks begin the moment you start to liberate yourself. Rarely is it a direct confrontation. It is the subtle exclusion. The ironic jokes about your new discipline. The awkward silences when you refuse to engage in cheap gossip. The underlying message is always the same. Go back to the group. You are making us feel small. And the brutal truth? You are. Just by existing in your absolute authenticity, you remind them of everything they are too afraid to become. Mediocrity does not fight fair. It weaponizes shame, consensus, and repetition to make you doubt your own sanity. It will try to convince you that you are wrong for not fitting into a sick environment. This is exactly where the vast majority surrender. They cannot stomach being the outcast. They lower their heads and step back into the cage. But for you, this friction is the absolute proof that you are finally awake. While the rest of the world revolves around recycled opinions, manufactured desires, and safe delusions, the truly strong individual brings the necessary discomfort required for evolution. Your difference is the spark. Remaining strong, thinking freely, and living autonomously is an act of total psychological warfare against this collective mediocrity. And you cannot fight a war empty-handed. You need mental weaponry. Because the final cost of building this unshakable mind is staggering. But the reward is something they can never strip away from you. You are still here. That alone exposes the truth about who you are. The vast majority of people clicked away the second they realized this was not going to massage their ego. They want comfortable illusions and 5-minute life hacks. You stayed for the autopsy of the human soul. Let us be brutally honest about the final cost of this transformation. Building a mind that terrifies the herd is not a passive choice. It is a violent renunciation. You're going to lose things. You will lose the friendships built entirely on mutual complaining. You will lose the safety of hiding in the background. You will lose the convenient excuse of being a victim. But look at what you extract from the ashes. Absolute, untouchable sovereignty. You will start to notice a shift. You will walk into rooms where people are suffocating in their own anxiety, desperately performing for each other, and your silence will be the loudest thing there. Your clarity will disorient them. Your absolute refusal to bend to collective hysteria will make you a ghost in their machine. They will not know how to handle you, because a person who no longer needs external validation cannot be bought, sold, or controlled. Nietzsche did not write his philosophy to create obedient followers. He wrote it to trigger internal earthquakes. He wanted you to stop crawling for approval. He wanted you to stop begging the universe for a meaning that only you can forge with your own blood and awareness. He wanted you to become dangerous, not physically violent, but psychologically lethal to a culture that profits from your insecurities. Real mental strength is not forged in luxury retreats or through cheap positive affirmations. It is hammered out in the cold, lonely moments when you look in the mirror, strip away every lie you have been telling yourself, and finally decide, I am no longer for sale. The isolation you feel right now is not a punishment. It is the entry fee for a life of ultimate freedom. Pay it willingly. Let them whisper. Let them be uncomfortable. Let them be terrified of the boundaries you set. You are not alone on this path. You are simply walking ahead of the curve. Embrace the chaos, build your universe, and never apologize for the strength it took to survive the fire.